President of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, rejected the criminalization of Venezuelan migrants by the United States and demanded the release of migrants kidnapped in concentration camps in El Salvador. The fourth international Colloquium Patria continues this Tuesday in Cuba with the presentation of a documentary soundtrack to a coup by Johann Grimoire. The event began on March 17th with the participation of nearly 400 national and foreign guests from 47 countries. And in Palestine, the Israeli regime broke the ceasefire agreement and launched heavy airstrikes against the Gaza Strip, killing over 400 people. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We'll begin with the news. Stay with us. In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro denounced the fascist and Nazi measures of the United States and demanded the release of migrants kidnapped in concentration camps in El Salvador. The Venezuelan head of state rejected the criminal actions against Venezuelan migrants in the United States promoted by the fascist extreme right wing. Maduro asserted that all efforts are being made to rescue those who have been kidnapped by the Nazi government of the United States and who have created these concentration camps to violate their human rights in El Salvador. In this context, the president demanded that the government of Nayib Bukele cease the cruelty and injustice against Venezuelan migrants.
No puede ser.
It cannot be that a person for being Venezuelan is captured, kidnapped without the right to defense, without the right to due process, without conviction. A Venezuelan is sent to a concentration camp in the United States and has been sent to Nazi concentration camps. In El Salvador, I asked the president, Nayib Bukele, publicly president with respect, I said to him, you said you're going to stop this cruelty, this injustice, without the right to any process of creating concentration camps and putting noble migrants, hardworking, good people in jails without trial, without having committed crimes. In El Salvador, without any type of penalty issued by a court of El Salvador. Is this legal? Is it fair? Is it human? Nayib Bukele?
In this regard, Alba TCP condemned the implementation by the United States of the Alien Enemy Law and the kidnapping of Venezuelan migrants. In a communique, they state the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of America, People's Trade Treaty, expresses its most energetic rejection and condemnation of the U.S. government's decision to invoke the Alien Enemy Act of 1798, a norm that has only been used in war contexts and is now being used arbitrarily to justify systematic persecution against the Venezuelan migrant community. Further on, they add, even more alarming is the use of third countries as extrajudicial detention centers in a practice that represents a crime against humanity. The organization also explained that in view of this grave situation, Alba TCP urges the international community to take a firm stand against this policy of aggression and reiterates its unwavering support for the people and government of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. And the president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, led the solemn act from the National Pantheon, where they recognized the invaluable contributions of Dr. Humberto Fernández Moran. During the ceremony, the Venezuelan president stressed the importance of vindicating the life and work of Dr. Fernández Moran by encouraging the new generations of the country to learn about the work of the scientists as part of the reaffirmation of the Venezuelan identity. He also pointed out that Dr. Humberto Fernández Moran left an indelible mark on Venezuelan and world science thanks to his invaluable contribution to the development of the electron microscope. He highlighted that Dr. Fernández Moran is one of the greatest examples of human potential taken to its maximum expression.
When you see in your homes, in your schools, in your universities, yesterday, in your communities, the life of this man, Humberto Fernández Moran, you will be able to give meaning to my words that in Humberto Fernández Moran, we have one of the most immense and gigantic examples of human potential taken to its maximum expression based on ethics, morals, human conviction, and Bolivarianism. He was a man of deep convictions. He lived more than half of his life outside the country. And he was an exemplary Venezuelan. Where he left, well, standing the flag of Venezuela, the name of Venezuela, and despite having lived so long out of the country for different circumstances, desires of study abroad, or persecution within the country. Misunderstanding that led to another scientific center, he never spoke ill of his beloved Venezuela, never spoke ill of Venezuela, never made a gesture against Venezuela, never asked for evil for Venezuela, ever. On the contrary.
And in Honduras, at least 12 people died after a commercial airliner crashed in the Caribbean Sea. Authorities also report 5 survivors and 1 missing person. According to preliminary information, the aircraft, which was destined for La Ceiba, made a sharp turn during takeoff and fell into the sea near the runway of the Juan Manuel Alves Airport in Roatán. The National Police reported that the rescue teams continued their work and there is only 1 body left to be rescued, which according to the fire department would be the pilot of the plane. The Honduran Civil Aeronautics Agency instructed an investigating commission to carry out preliminary investigations on the possible causes of the accident. The 4th edition of the international Colloquium Patria opened on Monday in Havana as journalists, communicators, and representatives of media outlets gathered to address the challenges of digital communication. Our correspondent in Havana, Belén de los Santos, has all the details from that first day.
The 4th edition of the International Patria Colloquium has kicked off in Havana, an event that gathers journalists, influencers, and the collective experience from media outlets from across the global south to think about present challenges in digital communication. This edition also celebrates teleSUR's 20th anniversary as the news platform envisioned by Chavez and Fidel reviews its milestones in 2 decades of journalism thought from a people's perspective.
We have to make a profound reflection and stop thinking of ourselves as competitors, but also as collaborators, and decisively and consciously work on common agendas, to work in ideological exercises about what is important for the landless workers movement in Brazil, that I see them here, that their struggle agenda be also important for the community newspaper of Jujuy in Argentina, for a Chinese newspaper in Beijing, and of course, for a multi-platform such as teleSUR.
Among the main topics of discussion at this edition of the Patria Colloquium is the building of sovereign digital platforms and technologies that allow critical and anti-capitalist thought to be fostered and shared. That is to say, to imagine a technological future in which digital discourse is not dependent on capitalist platforms.
We need to create our own political horizon, technological horizon, that we have to challenge this idea that this way of doing politics is the only way, and the only ones that could think about the future is the techno capital or the big corporations. I think we can do that, and we have to do it quite fast.
In CMG, we have developed many good technology, and so we would like to take this Patria as a platform, and we would like to share our technology with all the other countries, and we would like to make the improvement together.
From Palestine to Africa and South America, for the participants of this event, the discussion goes beyond viral trends and news coverages. Coming together in Havana is the possibility to coordinate collaborative efforts to rethink the global scene by looking at the world from the perspective of the popular movements of our territories.
In a way, the movements are the source And the point is to look into those movements. Who's saying the interesting things? Who's thinking beyond the immediate problem and trying to generalize and find a way forward, and then to try to create a kind of global left culture out of that. Have those people talking to each other, sharing experiences, and so on.
We are peoples weaving networks. Those are the words that accompany this edition of Patria. And it is in those connections, the sharing of common experiences and agendas, that lays the true power of the future of digital communication. Belén de los Santos, Denise Araví, for teleSUR, Havana, Cuba.
The United States will release new pages of classified files on the assassination of John F. Kennedy. The current president of the United States, Donald Trump, announced that there are approximately 80,000 pages on the killing of the 35th president of the North American country. In late January, President Trump signed an order to declassify files on the 1960s murders of Robert Kennedy, and civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr., noting that it is in the national interest to make public all records relating to these assassinations without delay.
The Kennedy Center needs a lot of work. We're at the Kennedy Center. Needs a lot of work. We're going to fix it, make it beautiful. It's a very big part of the fabric of D.C. and the Capitol. We're bringing back the Capitol. We're bringing back our country. But while we're here, I thought it would be appropriate. We are tomorrow announcing and giving all of the Kennedy files. So people have been waiting for decades for this, and I've instructed my people that are responsible, lots of different people, put together by Tulsi Gabbard, and that's going to be released tomorrow. We have a tremendous amount of paper. You've got a lot of reading. I don't believe we're going to redact anything. I said, just don't redact. You can't redact. But we're going to be releasing the JFK files.
Also in the United States, extreme fire conditions are expected to sweep from the Texas Panhandle into western Oklahoma on Tuesday, putting officials on high alert for potential wildfires. Similar weather conditions affected the region last week, and Oklahoma officials say at least 4 people have died. In addition, the City Department of Emergency Management said Sunday night that more than 400 homes were damaged statewide. As Oklahomans assess the devastation to their homes and property, officials warn of an increased risk of fire danger in the coming week. We have a second short break coming up. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Israel has ended the ceasefire in Gaza and has so far killed 412 people. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Tuesday that he has instructed the army to resume attacks on Gaza. He claimed that this decision was due to the fact that the resistance movement, Hamas, has repeatedly refused to release Israeli detainees. The Gaza Civil Defense Agency announced that a series of Israeli attacks consisting of aerial bombardment and artillery fire have injured 562 people. One of the massacres perpetrated by the Israeli regime came after bombing hundreds of displaced people's tents in Al-Mawasi, west of Han Yunis. The attacks follow a deepening humanitarian crisis in Gaza, where Israel has blocked the entry of all aid and goods for more than 2 weeks. Since the beginning of their genocidal campaign in October 2023, the occupation forces killed more than 48,572 citizens, most of them children and women, and injured more than 112,000 people. And in the United States, the White House confirmed that it was notified in advance of Israel's latest attack on the Gaza Strip. The administration of U.S. President Donald Trump said that the regime of Benjamin Netanyahu consulted with the White House about the attacks that occurred between the night of March 17th and the early hours of March 18th. Earlier, President Trump sent a threatening message to Hamas and its allies saying that all those who seek to harm not only Israel, but also the United States will have to pay a price. In the early hours of Tuesday morning, the Israeli occupation broke the ceasefire agreement on shell areas of the Gaza Strip on the orders of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And UNICEF warns of precarious situation of 1 million children in Gaza. According to the United Nations Children's Fund, the lack of supplies after 2 weeks of blockade by Israel has led to a precarious situation for the young. The organization's West Asian office has said that 1 million children in Gaza are struggling to survive without basic commodities, and hundreds of thousands are without clean water and sanitation. Since last March 2nd, the Israeli Prime Minister ordered to block the entry of all humanitarian aid to Gaza after the expiration of the first phase of the truce. And during the night of this Monday, the United States carried out a new bombing against the coastal area of Yemen, including the capital city of Sana'a. As a result of these new airstrikes, the Al-Habashi iron factory in Al-Salif district was destroyed and Houthi positions in Al-Hudaida province were attacked. In response, Houthis claimed to have successfully attacked the USS Harry Truman aircraft. This new action comes on a day when the Yemeni population came out in protest to denounce the attacks by Washington that have caused the death of more than 50 people in the last few days. Also, Yemeni Armed Forces announced its third attack on the USS aircraft carrier Harry Truman. The United States aircraft carrier was targeted in the northern Red Sea with 2 cruise missiles and drones. According to the spokesman for the Yemeni Armed Forces, Yahya Sari, the targeting was the third in the past 48 hours, and the enemy was struck by a state of confusion, which prompted many of its warships to retreat. The Yemeni Armed Forces affirmed that they will not cease targeting all hostile targets in the Red Sea and the Arabian Sea until the aggression against their country stops. Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at teleSUR English. Also join us on our social medias to stay up to date on everything happening around the world. For teleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.